So this is a tutorial video, an introduction to VIX, which is a video editor for OS X. It's a different video editor than you're used to. It's not like Final Cut, Premiere, or the simpler editors like Shave or QuickTime Pro 7. With VIX, you use audio file. It analyzes the audio file, finds the beats, and then edits your video in time to the music that you selected. So we're just going to get started launching VIX right here. And when you launch VIX, you're going to get this new document wizard, and it's just two steps. Pick your audio file, pick your videos, and then it'll get you started. You can optionally just create an empty document, start from scratch, but we're going to use the wizard. The first thing you're going to do, of course, is pick your audio file, and we're going to use this track by Dirty Mackenzie from Minneapolis. It's a very dope piece of music. You can preview it here. So we'll just open that up, click next, and then we're just going to add the videos that we want to edit. Now these videos are from a magazine that I'm working on, and actually is the reason that I built VIX, was to help me sort of edit some of these behind the scenes videos that we're doing. To do this in Final Cut would be incredibly slow. So I'm just going to pick these videos here. And these videos that I'm choosing are videos that I slowed down. We shot at 60 frames per second, and I slowed these down to 24 frames per second, so they're all slow motion. So just pick those, click open, and we'll see the list right here of the videos. This column needs conversion. VIX can only use videos that are in Apple ProRes or H.264. Any other codec will go through a conversion step, and VIX will do that for you. And this column will tell you which videos need it. But all of these are in ProRes, so we're good. So we're just going to click Finish and wait for VIX to build. So VIX is done building the composition, and here we are, and here it is. Now I'm just going to go over the interface fairly quickly here. At the top is our preview. If I hit play, that gives us our preview. This right here, this bar, is the audio overview. This shows us the entire audio track that we're working with. And right beneath that is the audio detail. Now in the audio detail you can see these little yellow lines, and that's where VIX has decided the beats are, and that's where it's put the edits. You have a lot of control over this, and we'll get into more advanced stuff in a minute, but you can move these, delete them, you can add your own. You can also change the way that VIX processes the audio by adjusting the beat detector here, but we're going to leave it alone just to show you what's what. Now you'll notice the green right here, and we can zoom in. We can zoom in here, and this is the currently selected edit, and the currently selected edit is also shown up here. Now what I could do here is I can change, which video is being used here, where we're starting in that video, and then I can lock it, which means it can't be changed in the future if we add another video and VIX has to do some automatic editing for you. Now back to this waveform thing. The audio overview, if you want to pan, you just click and drag. If you want to zoom, you up and down. So we can get a big zoom out there, and we can see all these edits. It's quite a bit. But this track is 5 minutes long, so it makes sense. And so we'll just play this again, and you can see up here that this marker is changing. So just to go over what VIX has actually already done, this list of videos, it's randomly putting them in here, or semi-randomly I should say. Basically what it does is at the start of the video it creates a copy of this list, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos in it. and it'll go 8 edits and randomly pick from that list and then remove that video from the list. So by the time it gets to the 8th edit, there's only one thing left. And when it goes on to the 9th edit, it'll repopulate the list with the videos and yada yada yada. So it's not entirely random. I mean, the placement is random, but it's random localized to your list here. Now, if we don't want these videos in random order, we can click on this thing down in the corner, this gear, and we can set this to sequential. So what happens is VIX is going to start here. It's going to use this video. It's going to use the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and it's going to display everything in order. So depending on how in depth you're going to get with editing, you'll probably use sequential more than random. But again, it really depends on what you're trying to do. Okay. So one thing to note too is that all of these videos are anywhere from 15 seconds to about half a minute long. This song is 5 minutes and 40 seconds long. Actually, it's closer to 6 minutes long. And what VIX is doing is it's stretching out these 30-second videos to last all the way down the 6 minutes. So, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're just going to delete these videos from the list here. We're just going to remove all of them until we get to 1. So we have this video, and you're going to see as it plays how it's not really progressing. It's kind of repeating, and that's just VIX trying to stretch the time out. So you'll see as we get towards how it's stretching it out. I mean, it's pretty apparent. It's not changing the timing of the video, it's just changing where that start edit actually happens in the source video. You have absolute control over this. This is called stretched mode. We could switch this to looped. And basically looped will just keep looping the video. It will play through it in real time. And then it'll loop it again. So loop 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. There are a couple other ones that are essentially just minor variations on the same thing. And we're not going to get too much into this panel here. This is actually you can do some pretty advanced stuff. We'll get into stutter. Actually, let me show you stutter now. So I'm going to set this back to stretched. So that's set back to stretch, and let's just crank the stutter. And basically what stutter does is says to randomly offset the start time by a given number of frames. So if we set this start variance to 240 frames, that's 8 seconds forward or backwards in time. The minimum variance it could be 0 frames, or we could say always randomize the start time 90 frames minimum, 240 frames maximum. So 90 to 240. And if we play, you'll see the start time is jumping around there. So that can actually give you a pretty cool effect, especially when you start layering these videos in. And you can see it now that the beat is picked up in tempo. You can also, right now it's set forward and backwards. You can set it just to move forward only. Or backwards only. And really depending on your footage is how pronounced that effect is. So let's just delete this last video, and this will clear everything out. And then we're going to add these videos back in, and I'm going to show you a different way of layering stuff in. So I'm going to pick my slow movies again. Slow, slow, and slow. I think that's the last one. Oh, no. Two more. So I picked my movies again. I'm going to change the import option to sequence videos across composition with a 30-second overlap. So what was happening when we first built this video is going through that entire list consistently. This is telling it to make the videos play across, well, you know what, it's easier just to show you. Let me just open it up here. So if you see above the audio overview, this is actually where the video will play in the composition. After this point, it won't play the video. It will remove it from the list. And if I click here, and you'll see as we go down how it's stretched across. So for the first X seconds, we're only going to see this first video. But then we get into the legs right here, see? And then we'll get into this part here. And let's just play that to see what it looks like. Now this part looks kind of, we need to put the stutter in so we get that nice random thing. But here comes the second video now. And if we shuttle here, there should be some overlap between all three videos. Now we can change where this video is by just dragging this around. We can grab the end and make it longer or shorter or whatever. And we can do the same with the beginning. We can just do this as well. Do that and maybe do this. And come in and check it out, see how it's going. Looks good. Now a couple other things about the interface too is you've got this settings panel which lets you rename, change all these options, stutter. This time panel directly correlates to this right here. You can also preview the video, and you can actually click and drag here as well if you just want to kind of step through it. As for that clicking and dragging, you can actually do it up here in the preview as well. Just click on the video and drag, and you can like kind of very finely tune where you're going. This is pretty coarse, you don't have a lot of control, but this is pretty fine-tuned. If you hold down the command key, you can actually just quickly jump around. So let's edit a few of these markers just to show you what that's all about. Well, first things first, I want to turn stutter on for this here. I just want to crank that minimum. So what I can do is I can come in and I can highlight this marker. And I've decided I don't really like where this is starting. So I can click and drag to set a new start time. Just click and drag there. And so if I go forward, see there. And you can navigate forward and backwards just pressing the command brackets to go back and forth, which is good when you're doing like more in-depth editing. So if I'm coming through here and I'm doing a lot of this changing, and note that when you do adjust the start time here, it locks it. Anytime you make an adjustment to a marker, it will lock it automatically because it assumes that you changed it for a reason. If a marker is unlocked, and let's say you add another video, that marker could potentially be assigned a new video and a new start time. Now there's a lot of editing functionality up here. We won't get into all of it, but you can do things like make the current marker exactly like the marker before it, or you can make the marker exactly like the marker that follows it. You can split a marker, which means I can say I want to put a marker right here. I could come up and either add the marker at the current time or split it. I can delete it, which would then create this gap. You know, all kinds of things. So now I'm just going to get into some of the tools that you can use and then wrap this up. So I can come in here, and down in the lower right are these tools. This is your selection tool. If you can click and drag here, or I can hover over a marker and you'll see my cursor has changed, and I can reposition where that marker begins. Now if I come down here and click the pencil, this is the add marker. So I can come in here and I can add a marker there, add a marker there. Just keep adding markers wherever I feel they need to be. And then I can delete markers as well. So let's say right here I just want all of that gone. Now if I have the selection tool selected, I can double click and in a marker and it'll be selected. So the length of this marker is 16 seconds. The video that it's using is 17 seconds, so we're good. And we can just play.
Shake, shake. Shake, shake.
So that's the general gist of the interface. There's actually quite a bit more to editing, and I'm just going to show you a few tricks and tips that I use. So I've loaded all these individual clips in, and sometimes that's a good effect, sometimes it's not. Mostly because a lot of these videos are being stretched out far longer than they should be. I'm just going to close this and start over. Let's just do a new document here. So I've got this new empty document. I'm going to just add my audio to it. It's butterfly. And I'm going to try to get fewer markers. It might be a little too many edits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank down the low to 0 and hit process and see what happens. And I actually ended up with more markers, believe it or not. See what happens if I go the other direction. There we go. You just got to play with this because different music, different EQing, different mastering, it all is very susceptible to these settings. But the default one is actually typically pretty good. depending on your source material. And I mostly work with electronic music. I refuse to call it EDM, but electronic music. A lot of techno, a lot of house, dubstep, I guess. So let's add some videos to this. I'll just click on the plus thing here. Now, I've actually created a sequence where I've combined it, and I've combined only the clips I want. There are quite a few clips here, and some of them are extraneous. I don't need them, but I'm just going to import this big long one. So this one goes through everything all the way to the end here. It's very long. And then what I'm going to do is layer videos on top of it, and then just sort of get this interweaving sort of thing going on. So I'm going to pick my slow. And I'm going to sequence across. And hope that they're in the right order. Yes, they are. Now you can actually click and drag and move stuff around to reorder your videos if you like. And turn this to sequential. And press play. So this backing video is a good 10 minutes long. And now we're just going to weave this stuff on top. And actually this is getting to be a pretty good edit. Now the only problem with this song is that there aren't a lot of breaks in it. There aren't like a lot of periods where no audio or where there's no beat. So what I typically do is come in and create those by deleting markers. So let's take just a look right here.
Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you butterfly, let me see you. Let me see you, 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 let me see you.
Okay, so one thing I will do is add stuttering to the stuff that's happening over the top here. And I'm just going to jack it up for all of this. The video in the background I won't do it for, because I want that to be kind of consistent. And it's already longer than the song, so it's sort of stuttering by itself. And you'll notice actually VIX is actually kind of real time. And this is not 1080p video, or is it? Yes, it is 1080p. So it's doing 1080p in real time, kind of, give or take a second. So here we go. We're getting good. It's not getting we're not getting a lot of repetition of the same shot, start time over and over, which is kind of what we wanted. There's still a little too many edits. So if I had more time, I would go in and start deleting some markers, some repetitive stuff, or maybe even playing around with EQ settings a little bit more. See what I can do. But it's looking good. Now, one thing that you can do is, say you've done your edit here, and you like the edit, you it's good. It's exactly what you want, but the audio is not what you're looking for. You can replace, or you can add what's called a soundtrack, and that will replace the audio that the user will hear when you publish the video, but keep the audio that's doing the edits. Just to show you what that's like, let's do that now, and let's just try to get weird here and do some basic channel. So we're setting inversion to be the soundtrack, and now when we play it, sometimes it's in time, sometimes it's not. But sometimes you get this really kind of cool syncopated effect that works, and sometimes you don't. In this case, it's not really working for me, and I would keep going through and trying to find something better. So let's assume that I'm done. I'm completely happy with all my edits. Once I'm done, I can export movie. Give it a name. And then VIX will export it to a movie that you can then import into whatever else you're going to finish this off in. After Effects, Final Cut, Premiere, whatever. So that's introduction to VIX. Good luck. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it's useful for you. Let's just take a look at that video that we exported before we sign off completely. And yeah, here we go. You'll see that Apple ProRes 422 uncompressed our AAC audio, and that it's 4.5 gigs. Oh, I guess this is 1280 by 720. Either way, it doesn't break a sweat on 1080 either, so. That's it.